Okay. Again, welcome to the market. My name is Jenn Robbins. Currently an independent chef. Have been with Avalon Catering for a number of years and other restaurants around town. Um, this is my second demo here this year. I will be back again next week. We will likely be featuring cucumbers, just trying to hit a lot of the summer vegetables right now. So today we're doing okra, peppers, tomatoes because it's the summer. Next week, cucumbers, maybe some eggplant thrown in there. I've taken the summer off and have been doing a lot of things around town with the different markets, including here. Participated in Sunday Supper if any of y'all came to that one. Also, will be cooking for the Farmer Fund calendar release 2017 on Monday with some other local chefs. If you haven't gotten your tickets, you still can. And then also we'll be here with 3 other chefs on Wednesday in the afternoon market doing a veggie throwdown. So think Iron Chef, but vegetables. Somewhere, yes. Unless it's raining, and I'm assuming we would be inside. But yeah, so you'll actually get to watch us do everything start to finish. Kind of surprise ingredients, not completely, so people usually come with a game plan. They don't tell you that about Iron Chef. They know what they're doing ahead of time. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Especially with the type of food that they do there. I hope I didn't spoil the surprise for anybody. Okay, so today's dish. What I like to do when doing a demo at markets is take ingredients y'all are all familiar with and seeing in the season, and I was like, don't shmee. You know, either giving you a way to prep it that maybe you haven't used before, or just showing you a really simple process that you can definitely go home and do again. So you won't see anything really fancy. This is the type of stuff that I would cook at home myself. Very quick, very easy, or I can, make some roasted tomatoes and use some for this recipe and then save some for something else. An aioli that I use for this and then put on sandwiches. So things that can have multiple uses, so you can just make it once and have some left over and use it during the week. That's how I cook at home. Fresh aioli. I actually like to use an immersion blender, but I'm gonna whisk it by hand here to show you guys. But I have a secret ingredient for that. So the dish we're doing today. The base is going to be an aioli, a lemon aioli. Really simple. Again, you can use it for multiple things. You could take it and turn it into a salad dressing just by thinning it down. On top of that, we're going to roast in a cast iron skillet peppers and okra. For any of you that were here last year's demo, I also did skillet roasted okra. Yeah, absolutely. So that's, frying is a little bit more involved, but just a high, quick heat, really fast, leave some texture. You're not going to get slimy okra. We're going to actually mix that with some of these roasted tomatoes that will get chopped up. We'll add a little bit of vinegar, a little bit of olive oil. So that'll be almost kind of like a dressing, a really chunky dressing that we're going to put mixed in with the veggies. And then just to give it some more crunch and make it not quite as healthy, we're going to put some garlicky, toasted, buttery croutons sitting on top. Right? And so the croutons are something, too, that, if you've got a baguette, you could certainly use, or if you have, like, a large loaf that you're not going to, you could freeze it, but if you're not going to use it very quickly, just take that whole thing and turn it into croutons, because those actually freeze very, very well. So you can keep them in your freezer to use for salads and whatnot. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make this. Actually, what I'll do is demo how I prep the tomatoes. The tomatoes I actually roasted at the house this morning because we obviously don't have an oven. And how to set it up, because again, you can go get some tomatoes from Paula or anybody else who's had them. Roma tomatoes roast really well too, but I don't believe she has any more. And you can, if you've got a nice big like half sheet pan and a resting rack for that, you can fill the whole thing up with roasted tomatoes, and then they'll keep in your fridge for 2-3 weeks, no problem. So this part does get a little messy, and I have already drained. Now some of this liquid is from there, but I already have some draining in here. You know, they almost will have the texture if you roast them like a peeled whole tomato. You know, the canned tomatoes. Yeah, a little bit like that. A little more firm. Well, no, these will get peeled. Okay, so what I did for this, just really easy. Just core the tomato. That way, after they've been roasted, you don't have to worry about it. And then all I'm going to do, and this is why I love this, we did these at work all the time. You can then, for example, another use for these, make a really good tart, like baked in a quiche dough, a puff pastry, whatever you want. One thing I really like to do, and I'll show this later with the leftover garlic from the croutons. Are any of y'all familiar with Spanish cuisine? Have you ever had pan con tomate? It's just a piece of toast, basically rubbed with garlic and tomato. That's all it is. It's a really good application for that. So cut in half. We'll just pretend season with salt, pepper, and oil. Tossed in just a tiny bit of oil, and then thyme will go down on the resting rack, and then these are just sitting on top. So when you're roasting it, you're also kind of infusing it with that flavor. No, they just got tossed with it, like in a mixing bowl. Yeah. So roasting, yeah, these get roasted in the oven. Yes. 350 for about an hour and a half, and then they peel. So the skin will peel right off. You know, if your oven has hot spots, just make sure to rotate the pan frequently. But, you know, so we take a tomato that was about this size, and then we get something like that. Yeah. Yeah. And you peel the skin off. Now, just because I don't want to accumulate a lot of the juice, it'll make a bit of a mess when we go to cut it, and that's fine. I'm going to drain it in here, but don't throw away the juice. No. You can drink it. It would make a really good Bloody Mary. Yeah, me too. You can always freeze it and save it, and next time you're making some tomato sauce, just put it in there. You can put it in a soup. You can make a vinaigrette out of it. Add some red wine vinegar and olive oil. You know, throw in some chopped herbs. And yeah, so just make sure not to get rid of it. And this'll create certainly a good amount of juice, especially if you were to then go ahead and chop them immediately and then drain them some more. So, and you can see too, I'll try to not spill. So there's still some juice in the bottom, absolutely, but see, so I've just roasted on top of that thyme. Yeah. Yes, again, and so this is, you know, as an independent recipe, you know, because we've got multiple components to this, this is a great thing to just, you know, even if any of the farmers here have some tomatoes that are not quite as pretty that you can get for a little bit cheaper, it's a great thing to do with them, because it doesn't, you know, they're going to get smushed. It doesn't really matter how they're going to look. And ugly vegetables need love too. The skin just peels right off. Yep. And that's why I cored it first too, because otherwise it would kind of get stuck on that little core. So other things that you could also do with these tomatoes, for any of you that have just done a really basic tomato sauce, you could just go in there and crush it with your hands. You know, it. Well, no, they'll be sweeter. So we've cooked out a good amount of the liquid. So it will concentrate the natural sweetness of the tomato a bit. It won't be like tomato paste by any means, not that sweet, but definitely sweeter than just a fresh tomato. Right? So look at this half, and this was probably, these are some of the smaller tomatoes that I actually got. They're just slicers. The bigger pieces that came off of here were bigger. So that'll show you how much liquid or how much water we're cooking out of it. Yeah. All right, so while I make the aioli, I'm just gonna let these drain a little bit. Yeah. Nice. And I'll pour. Yeah. Yes. And you'll also, so depending on how many tomatoes you go to roast all at once, when you toss it with just a little bit of olive oil, you're going to have some juice in the bottom of that mixing bowl too. Save that for your vinaigrette also. Yeah. Try not to throw much away, is the goal at least. Okay, so these are draining. And just real quick, I went ahead and did knife work for the okra and peppers. I'm going to get this working just because we've got quite a bit to cook off. Okra is just halved lengthwise. Oh, okay. Yeah. You could do whole, yeah. Especially if they're little smaller ones, like this guy. You could definitely do that whole. And then peppers, we also have a variety of sweet bell peppers of different colors. We've got yellow, green, we've got some of these purples. There's a red down in here. And then also have some of these. These are Italian frying peppers. They are not spicy, although they're all also spicy peppers that'll look like this. So you just got to see what they're labeled as, because you could bite into one that's a little spicy. Yeah, exactly. So when you go to cook these, especially if you've got a good amount like I do, one of the things that you want to make sure, because we don't want to steam our veggies, we want to put heat on them to get them cooked, but where they still have some crunch. So you got to do just like a little single layer. And I say it doesn't need to. You don't need to go in and place each one, because we'll mix them around and stuff. But don't take this whole or even half of this bowl of okra and put it in the little small guy. Don't do that. I think I made sure to talk about that last year too, right? Yeah. So these will just go in and get roasted. I'm gonna try to multitask. We'll see how that goes. You can do a blend. This is extra virgin, so I'm not gonna do the extra virgin. If you have just an olive oil, and then just salt, and that's it. And then I'll set those aside. This dish you can do warm, room temperature, hot. You could do it cold. We're not going to do it cold. And this is something that could be prepped completely in advance. Have that ready to go. All right, aioli. Who here is not familiar with aioli? You don't have. It's okay. You can admit it. All right, so it's garlicky mayonnaise, right? Right. Except that it's not, store-bought. It's got, stuff to make it shelf-stable, so it tastes like oil, whatever flavor you're going to put into it. This, we're going to do a lemon aioli. But I do want to teach y'all a couple of, I guess, secrets of little tricks that, chefs will do in restaurants. Most chefs, hopefully. It's what I've always taught my cooks, to get the final product what you want it to be. All right, so we got hot pans, really hot pans. By the way, so if you don't have gas, like if you've got a flat cooking surface that gets scratched if you're doing cast irons, you can crank your oven up to like 500. Toss your okra and peppers with some oil and salt. Preheat your cast irons in that oven, and then just kind of the same thing in batches. Toss them in there, shake the pan around without trying to lose too much of the temperature of the oven, and cook it like that. So you don't have to do it stovetop. So I've definitely got some hot pans. We got to sizzle as soon as we hit. So you can see, and I like that they have an oven mitt. I'm not overloading the pan. I'm not overloading the pan. There's a camera up here. That's new for me. And yeah, you definitely want these hot. So okra is back to the okra. Okra, you know, obviously is a funny vegetable. It goes in gumbo as a stew to thicken it and some other things, because it will thicken with the amount of slime that will come out of it. So again, you either want the slime to thicken it or you don't at all. Huh? Juice? It's slime. No? Anyway, so okra, if you don't want that, you want to cook it high heat really fast. 5. Yeah. Yeah, you want it, yeah, so you want your skillet to be hot so it'll get some color. But again, where there's still some texture in the actual okra. And that'll help keep it from getting juicy. All right. So, aioli. In an aioli or a mayonnaise, you can pretty much count on being able to fit per egg yolk about 8 ounces of oil, so a cup. Now you don't have to. You can actually fit more than that, but you know, you got to do it perfectly. So I'm actually going to crack both of these eggs into here and then separate out the yolks. These are actually duck eggs. Duck. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, you know, if you wanted to make, you know, 2 quarts, you could just crack all your eggs into one container. Isn't that crazy how the whites are actually like white? Yeah. Alright, and give these a stir again. Oh yeah, we're getting some good color on the okra. That won't need much longer. The peppers I'll probably take a hair longer. Maybe. We'll see. You know, so much about cooking. You know, aioli, I can give you a great recipe for it, right? But so much about cooking is, even though there might be a recipe, it's about the technique. It's about feel. And smell. Yep. If it's burning, you'll smell it. Yeah. I put oil in the pan. If I were to put it in the oven, I'd probably toss it, and it really doesn't matter. You could just put it in the pan no matter. So y'all can see we're starting to get some color. We're starting to get some tenderness. Okay. But I'm gonna let it go a little bit longer. You like okra? Oh, yeah. Good. Yeah, me too. So I also love fried okra, but I thought that'd be a little too much to try to do at the demo without. Yeah, I mean, you could pan fry it in one of these with just a little bit of oil, but yeah, it's a lot cleaner when you do it in a basket versus in a pot. Right. Curried okra? With a curried mustard vinaigrette? Oh, curry spices. I was going to say that last year. Alright, I hope y'all aren't in a hurry. So, components of an aioli. We got our yolks, right? Yolks are in here. Giant egg yolks. These will hold definitely more than 8 ounces. Garlic. So the 3 main components, your yolks, your garlic, your oil. We're also, in general, you'd put a little bit of lemon juice, salt, and then whatever else you want to season it with. But those are your main components. All right, we're going to take these out, and y'all will see when you get some. So tender, but it's not just going to flop over. Yeah. I've got the temps where they're, should be pretty good, but and then the peppers are kind of the same, where there's some tenderness. They've been cooked a little bit, but they're not overly tender. And I'm making a mess. Where's that? Oh, I'm gonna give you the canola oil for that. Oh. Yeah. Well, you can use that. That's fine. Nah, we'll be fine. Everybody, this is Sarah.
Hi, guys.
Sarah is my sous chef today. I'll put some salt in there. And I do have a spoon. This one. That'll help. Okay, so this is, if you haven't bought some, you need to go get some. She still has some. This is hardneck heirloom garlic. This you can't cut through. And I'm pretty sure I've shown you guys before, but I'm going to remind you. Right? So you're not going to be able to cut that off maybe like you would a regular one. Riverview Farms is over here. They've had a pretty dry summer, and it was a pretty dry, I guess, late spring for them. So this garlic is especially delicious this year. It's a little sweeter, and the flavor is incredibly concentrated. I bought, for myself personally, about 10 pounds that I have at home that, now it's cured, so it'll stay fresh, or, you know what I mean. It'll stay good for a while, but we're also turning it into a number of things: garlic salt, garlic powder, black garlic. If any of you have ever had fermented black garlic. Anyway, I highly recommend going and getting yourself some of these because it'll stay just fine for quite a while. So, the key for cleaning these is to cut around the neck. Right? Like, I cannot cut through that. I tried, my knife would not be very happy if I actually tried. So I've gone all the way around, and this will just peel right off, right? And there's some little garlic in there if you want to save that. And then you do the same thing on the other side. Just right, don't cut your fingers off. And then we just go like that. So if y'all want to pass that around, you can feel how hard it is. That's pretty crazy, huh? Is there salt in the peppers?
Nope.
Okay. Also, real quick, and I'm pretty sure I preach this every time too. For people that don't like veggies, and I was not a veggie person growing up at all. I think a lot of people who don't like vegetables, some of it is because it's not seasoned enough. A little bit of salt, or kind of depending on what it is, can go a long way in making a vegetable just natural flavor come out and make it really delicious. So don't be afraid to season your veggies. All right, so from there, all I did was crush it, and you can see how well cured this is, because they'll pretty much just peel themselves. For this, these cloves, you can also see are giant, right? So, those yolks are a little bit bigger, so I'm probably just going to paste one clove. I did a larger batch that we're also going to serve that's been sitting for a couple of days, and that had 2, maybe 1.5. So again, a little bit goes a long way, which is why if you went and bought, like 4 heads of this, you'd have it for a while. So this garlic, and especially because you can do aioli in a food processor, which is pretty much how I would prefer to do it anyway. How's that looking? Yeah, we can just. Okay. Or if you've got like one of those little Cuisinart immersion blenders, those work really well. If you're using that, you don't necessarily have to worry about the size of your chopped garlic as much, because you're going to be having some of that like pureeing action. But since we're whisking this by hand, I'm going to paste it. So what you do to paste it, and I'll move my tomatoes out of the way so y'all can see, is we're going to put a chop on it. Put some, right, or, you know, I'm worried about that table. So I'll go ahead and put a rough chop on it, and then I'm going to sprinkle it with some salt and use the side of my knife to paste it. What's that? Yeah. Right, so if I were doing this with a blender or, I'm sorry, food processor or something, I probably wouldn't take it past that, because it'll break down into smaller chunks. Now, when I put the salt on here, it's going to pull some of those juices out, and you'll see what it looks like. So I'm literally just taking my knife and I'm using the side of it to smush it, right? Like making garlic paste. And as much as this garlic looks like, I may not even put quite all of this in there. The salt will also kind of give it a little bit of abrasiveness on the board, so you can paste it easier. Right, so now it's kind of gummy, yeah. And again, I wouldn't necessarily do this going into a food processor. But now we also won't get giant chunks in here. We're going to put all that in there. Those yolks are going to hold a ton of oil. Oh, no, you're fine. Okay, so y'all see the color of that right now? Now, when you are emulsifying oil into an aioli, into a mayonnaise, you always want to add a little bit of liquid to start. Otherwise, you're going to break it right away. And then we're going to whisk it quite a bit. I'm also, at this point, because we are emulsifying a fat into something that's water-based. Eggs have lecithin, which is a natural emulsifier, and garlic is a natural emulsifier. So that'll help. But we want to start with all of our liquid components first. I'm going to go ahead and zest one lemon. I will definitely do all of the juice, even though these are big lemons. The other thing that I'm going to do, how many of you have ever successfully dissolved salt into oil? Right? It is not fat soluble, so my salt is going to go in here. Because otherwise, we can still season it more later, but especially the salt I have is Diamond Crystal kosher salt. The Morton's kosher salt is even bigger than this, and if you put it in at the end, you're going to have fat crystals that don't dissolve into it, and so it'll be not evenly flavored. Does that make sense? And y'all can ask me about that later. I'm sorry? Egg, garlic, and water. Now I'm adding the lemon zest. I'll add the... That's water. Yeah. Yeah. Me neither. And like I had I think a phobia of mayonnaise growing up. I still am not a huge fan. Make sure the seeds don't go in there. We don't want somebody to bite down on one of those. As much juice as just came out of this half, I think I'm just going to do a half. Oh, yeah. So, I'll just show y'all real quick our progress so far. Yeah. Sarah's doing a great job. All right, and then I believe I gave y'all a salt quantity. It was from the batch that I made at home. I don't know what that quantity is. I'm going to say teaspoon. Yeah, a little tea is a teaspoon. So at this point, I have everything that I want to start it with. And I'm going to whisk it until that darker color is lighter and it's kind of frothy. And you would do the same thing too with a food processor or an immersion blender. Yeah. You could also do this in a stand mixer with the whisk attachment. Right, yeah, that's all out of cleanup. That's what I think every time. What's up? All right, so I don't know if y'all can see that. Yeah, okay, that's good. I'm glad you told me that. I'm gonna steal this. All right. Oh, okay, yeah. So this is actually like one of the little gadgets that I do have. Got this. Believe my mom bought it for me in college. I wouldn't. It makes this hole, and the bee I think wants something. It's got a little ball whisk inside, and then a ceramic something. So for every turn of my wrist, it's actually whisking even more. So this, believe it or not, makes this process a lot easier. If you will, Howie, down in that, there's a little tiny cooler. All right, there's a container of aioli, a quart container. So I'm going to very slowly add it at first because we're emulsifying the fat into the liquid. Just to show you guys real quick, aioli is actually best at least 1 day later, so that the flavors can all meld. This I made Wednesday. Yeah, so you can see it's definitely got a nice color. It's thinner than I would normally make it, just because I actually did do it with a whisk. It emulsifies a little bit of air into it if you're using an immersion blender or a food processor. It makes it for a tighter emulsion. Alrighty. Are y'all getting hungry? If you do ever break your aioli, you can always start over with a new egg yolk and a little bit of water, and then slowly emulsify your broken sauce into it. Correct. You have to start, yes, exactly. You got to start with your liquid component. All right, I'm actually going to grab some of this. So I'm doing a blended just because I don't want it to taste like 100% olive oil. I want more of that lemon, which it does have that on your sheet. All right, so let me show you all this real quick. And again, this is not as much. I'm going to add more fat, but now we got, in culinary school, or if you have to make a lot of mayonnaise or something at work, they say the mayonnaise test is being able to hold a bowl like this with mayonnaise upside down over your head.
It is no joke. At Four Seasons, they totally made me do that on my first.
Oh, see, there we go.
But they didn't make me do it by hand. I got to use a blender.
Right, yeah. Yeah, immersion blenders are great for this. Yeah.
The good news about doing it by hand is afterwards you don't have to go to the gym.
Huh.
You're done.
Yeah.
That's
I'm working up a sweat right now. Yeah, this is holding a lot of fat. I don't know if y'all can tell how much I've put in here compared to what's on the recipe. Right? So I'm happy with that thickness. That's fine. I'm not trying to make culinary school French mayonnaise. So I'm going to taste it. And I actually going to add more lemon. Not too much more, and I just dropped the seed in there. 2 seeds. All right. So if y'all actually want to, you can pass this around and check it out. Yeah. Not to put your finger in it. Right. So that's definitely something you can do ahead of time. You'd prefer to do ahead of time just because those flavors are going to kind of all come together. All right. Okay, so our tomatoes are nice and drained, right? Look at all that juice. Yeah, all right, and this is going to be the messy part. Now, there's garlic on my board, but I'm totally fine with that. Right? And this will still make a mess. As soon as I chop into these, there's going to be juice coming out. I am, however, so I'm going to use this bowl. Yeah, thank you. Howie, I can show you real quick. Oh, sorry, that was me. Yeah, I'm going to kill the heat on that. All right, so this is just going to be a rough chop. And y'all, if y'all can see, maybe I'll do it up here. There's juice already starting to come out of these. But that juice we're going to hold on to. It's all going to go in this bowl. So I want this chunky, right? This you would call a tomato vinaigrette. Because we are going to put some oil and vinegar, salt, season it up. You could put herbs in there if you wanted to. Basil, sure. Oh yeah. Take some creative freedom on this. I also am going to, since we use just sweet peppers, I'm going to put a little bit of crushed red pepper in this. But if you wanted to, you could add some hot peppers to, it's not going to be spicy, just, spiced a little bit. Right? So this almost looks a little bit like, like the chopped tomatoes that come in a can. Yeah. It's like our own version of a canned tomato. All right, we're almost there, I promise. What I'll do also, these croutons, I'll tell you about them. Obviously not going to demo them here. A, that would take too long. B, we don't have an oven. Correct. All right. So we've got, our tomatoes. I'm going to add some olive oil. Not a ton.
I was wondering why those weren't cooking.
What?
It's out of a gas on.
Oh, and I was going to say, did you turn that back on? Yeah, okay. All right, so into this, a little bit of red wine vinegar. And I think I just messed up. Okay. Again, this is a much larger batch than what is on your recipe, so I'm adding more. I will definitely taste it for salt because you will actually lose a bit of the salt in roasting the tomatoes into that juice. So this you definitely want to check for seasoning. Also going to add crushed red pepper. Not too much. You could do any kind of heat that you wanted. If you wanted to do a paprika or something, or even cayenne, it's up to you. So, and we're calling it tomato vinaigrette, but again, it's not like it's really thin. It's just almost a little soupier, kind of. And we'll taste this. Huh? Yeah. Yeah, not like spit it out in a trash can. Yeah. Alrighty. Put that there. That there. Ooh, okay. Last bit. Y'all ready, huh?
That's heavy.
Alright, we'll get this plated up and I will tell you about the croutons. Actually, and also if we start building any and any of you are gluten-free, just let us know. Alright. Who wants to be a sucker for tasting? I think y'all like this. Use all of it. Y'all can see that? Summer in a bowl, right? Different forms of summer, but still summer in a bowl. Alright, so then to serve, all we are going to do, just put that on top. That's the aioli. And then a little bit of croutons. So it's like you almost got like a warm vegetable salad, kind of. So we will get those ready for you. I'll get them plating them up. And then, all right, so real quick. On these croutons, those look good, huh? Y'all see all the thyme in there? Okay, so on the recipe, depending on kind of how, did that break? Yeah. Oh, okay. Depending on how stale and old your bread is, and definitely you don't have to use fresh bread. You're putting a lot of fat on it and you're toasting it, so it doesn't really matter. In a small sauce pot, melt together your butter with the oil. Y'all saw how I just kind of like slightly smushed the garlic. Put your garlic clove down in there and some fresh thyme all down in the butter and oil. And you want to get it to the point where your butter is starting to brown a little bit. Your garlic, depending on how fast and how high the heat is, will turn out to be roasted garlic. So once my butter and oil is ready, I've just torn up the bread pieces. If you want to cut it, that's totally fine. Toss with the thyme. I take the garlic out and set it aside. Toss with the thyme, salt and pepper, onto sheet pans and just bake them until they're golden. And then at that point, like I just put the whole thyme sprigs in there. Just pick out the stems and that's it. Again, these keep really, really well in the freezer. Yeah. So this, and this garlic, by the way, so this is nice and roasted, right? This is what I was telling y'all about pan con tomate. You could take some of this, smear it on your toast, and then some of the roasted tomato, right? If you haven't cooked your peppers and okra yet, you can have a snack. You got some bread. You've got all the components. All right. Ooh, yeah. Those look nice. Sorry. We're good? Yeah. Oh. Yep. All right, they're coming around. Does anybody have any questions? I know we went over a lot of stuff. Did everybody learn something new today? Just one thing? Okay. Several things. Very good. That's the goal, right? That's why you do demos. And again, none of it very complicated. Stuff that you can definitely take home and use in your kitchen. Thank you.
I've seen it, but I never did it. I do it other days.
Yeah.
Very good.
Excellent. Curry okra? Y'all like that? So again, that's letting it sit for a couple days to let all the flavors kind of come together. You know, same thing you do with like a gumbo or a stew. It's better down the road. Yeah. You're welcome. And actually, so I'm going to do something with cucumbers next week, something with eggplant. I've done a couple of those recipes already. 3 eggplants in a row. Thank you for telling me that. All right, cucumber? Yeah? Okay. I can leave the egg. Okay. Let's be honest. Anything in particular with cucumber that you want to see? Huh? Oh no, y'all are great. I gotta ask those questions though, otherwise I might have brought eggplant again. And I think I've done a couple of eggplant recipes here also in years past. Right. Actually, you'll see a version of cooked cucumber next week. Yep. Yeah, they're good. Most people will just do like fresh cucumber, but smoke it, grill it, whatever. Blister it? No, you didn't. You want a refill, didn't you? Yeah. It doesn't take long at all. Yeah. Yeah. You're welcome. I was gonna say I've made a mess. You want some? Everybody, thank you for coming out to the market. Here again next week, same time, same place.